Aloha! Welcome to Mystic Movement Astrology. I'm your host, Lena Love, and I'm here to navigate the stars with you today. We are looking at a new moon in Cancer for June 28th, happening at 4 p.m. Hawaiian time, 7 p.m. Pacific time, and 10 p.m. Eastern time. So that new moon is feeling that wind energy supporting me in this message to you as I open my voice. I never know exactly what's going to come through. I know that I have taken some time to study the chart today, and I aim to transmit something that is useful to you, that is representative of what is universally true at these times. There are always so many ways in which we can interpret different signs, different aspects. So I'm giving my interpretation based off of the energies that I sense, as well as what I have picked up from other people that I've been in interaction with lately. So, as we're talking about now, it's a long transit that we're in, where we're coming from the South Node in Scorpio and we're moving towards the North Node in Taurus. So this new moon is going to be reflective of some of those more ongoing aspects as well, because everything in the chart is in relationship to everything else. So I'd like to talk a little bit about this South Node Scorpio, North Node Taurus axis, because I've had some downloads recently that are giving me some new insight into how we can work with this energy. So we typically think of Scorpio as deep, intimate relationships, our sexuality, our power, our intensity, our resilience, our ability to transform with death and rebirth and recreation of the self. So Scorpio is also associated with mystery and research and anything that's really getting deep into those psychological, emotional realms of spirituality and mysticism. So it's this deep connection that we have to ourselves, to others, and to God, Goddess, Source, the universe, what have you. So even though our North Node is in Taurus, which is opposite to Scorpio, we have Saturn squaring the nodes. So anytime you have a planet squaring the nodes, that means that there's a skipped step, as Jeffrey Wolf Green would say in evolutionary astrology. And then you look to the node to the left, counterclockwise to that. So maybe like this, because you're getting my mirror reflection. And that is the resolution node. So the resolution node for Saturn squaring our nodes is our South Node. So there's a way in which we have to go back into the depths of our intimate partnerships and how we're engaging in these deep relationships to self, other, and God, Goddess, Source. And we need to examine that. And we need to really begin to take ownership, because Saturn is all about responsibility. And in Aquarius, it's all about recognizing that we're all different, we're all unique, and that there's no one fits all standard of behavior, values, right or wrong for any one person. And really, there is nothing wrong about any one person's set of values as long as they're not harming another person. So bringing that to awareness, we can then take ownership for our part in our relationships, understanding our values and understanding, were we acting in accordance with our values? And as long as we are acting in accordance with our values, then we are in integrity. And so then we can really engage in relationship honestly and with an open heart, because we feel good about ourselves. Because when we're in integrity, we feel good about ourselves. Yet if we haven't declared or clarified our values, and when we get into these deep relationships and we start to compromise our values, maybe we value waking up in the morning, but our partner likes to sleep in, and so we just kind of, it's okay, I can sleep in. Just something little like that, but they can be big things as well. Maybe we value having children, but we were in a partnership where someone didn't want to have children. So to the extent that we're not being honest with ourselves about what we value and holding true to that, sometimes that can come up as shadows in the relationship, where we're projecting our dissatisfaction onto the other person or blaming them for why we don't feel happy or fulfilled. So this aspect of the square to the nodes with Saturn in Aquarius is really about understanding that everybody is different, and no one person can love us and knows how to love us exactly how we need to be loved. So therefore it is our responsibility to teach and to set boundaries in order for someone to be able to meet our needs in the way that causes us to feel loved. So this aspect is really about taking responsibility, because we all want to get to that Taurus North Node of feeling self-sufficient, just feeling really good and comfortable in our bodies, feeling abundant, feeling joyous, and just indulging in the senses of sight, taste, touch, smell, sound, and just really like living this embodied experience with a sense of freedom, joy, peace, love. Like that is Taurus, the Garden of Eden. That's where we're headed. And if we are not working on this Saturn element of taking responsibility and really looking at our shadows in this Scorpio aspect of our relationships, our relationship to money, our relationship to power, all of these attachments that we might have to things that happened in the past, or things that we're like imagining could have been or could be. These are all attachments that don't serve us. So really this new moon is highlighting this, because this new moon, it's not exactly trine, but in this water element of Cancer, we're really having this opportunity to really go within and to examine our bodies and to examine our inner emotional state, and to look at how we've done relationship in the past and compare that, with we've got Mercury and Venus and Gemini, with our learning, our mind, our analytical mind, to research, to understand, okay, what needs to shift in me so that I can have more aligned relationships where I am in integrity, where I am living my values, where I'm also honoring another person's values and allowing them to live in integrity. It can also go both ways. So with this Cancer new moon, I really see this as reflective of this South Node in Scorpio and this skip step that we need to address, because we're also working in the water signs. So if our inner water, representative of Cancer, which is this more yin, cardinal energy of the inner child, more like how we're relating to ourselves, if this isn't aligned, if this isn't correct within us, if we don't feel stable and secure within that, then that's going to be reflected in our interpersonal relationships. So we're kind of really seeing the mirror now. It's a really powerful time where we can see, oh, this is why I act that way in relationship, because I have this deep inner wound that I haven't acknowledged from my childhood that I should probably spend some time just healing. Maybe just accepting it. I don't have to like it. Healing isn't really about us liking or making things even right or fair, or changing the things that happened. It's really about acceptance and forgiveness. And the person we have to forgive the most is ourselves. Because if we can't forgive ourselves, and we all have things to be forgiven for, we all have ways that we've hurt others intentionally or unintentionally. We all have ways that we've fallen short of our standards or disappointed ourselves. We all have regrets. So if we can't forgive ourselves, we definitely can't forgive anyone else. And if we can't forgive anyone else, then we truly can't be free. And really be free from our wounds, essentially. Because as long as we're feeling resentment, as long as we're feeling, oh, that shouldn't have happened to me, that was wrong, that person's bad, I'm good, they're bad, as long as we're feeling that, then we're stuck in this victim identity where we're perpetuating this woundology, where we say we want to heal, but really we're hanging on to those wounds, because secretly what are we getting from it? Power. So there's one of those shadows of Scorpio, because sometimes we think, no, that's a bad thing. Of course I didn't want that to happen to me. Of course I want to heal. Of course I don't want to be sick. Of course I don't want cancer. Of course I don't want to have been broken up with. Of course I don't want to have depression. Of course I don't want to any number of things, any number of things, any number of wounds that we identify with as being rejected or not good enough or stuck. We all have trauma, but sometimes even our traumas become like badges of honor that we wear because we expect people to treat us a certain way because we've suffered, So it's okay. It's okay that we feel that way, and yet it's also not helping us to heal and find that Garden of Eden in Taurus that is our destiny to evolve into. So therefore, we really do have to make peace with ourselves. And by making peace with ourselves, we're forgiving those things that we just couldn't control, or that we didn't control, even if we could have at the time, for whatever reason. But to understand that everything is a part of our journey, and that at least we can learn from that and move forward. And also to extend that forgiveness to others, and to really, it's not even that we even need to have the conversation with the other person that we're forgiving. It could be a person that's not even alive anymore. This Cancer new moon, Cancer energy is very evocative of the mother. And I came across an idea recently by a somatic therapist, Eleanor Criswell, who talks about how, as we develop and as we individuate, we tend to reject where we came from. So what does that mean for the mother and the feminine? Well, we tend to reject our mothers. We tend to look very critically at, she didn't do this or that. There's an opportunity to forgive that as well, and to look at, what did she do right? And it could not be even just our mother, it could be the cosmic mother. It could be this sense of being abandoned by God, goddess, source herself. And so how do we heal that? Well, we need to open to the realization that we are so much more than these skin encapsulated egos. You know, like the source of all of our suffering and disease is based on our forgetting of our true nature as spirit. So really we're pushing away God, but really that's the relationship that we need to strengthen the most. Because we're like a child throwing a tantrum, because we're upset about what happened to us, because somehow we think that it shouldn't have happened to us. But these things are happening, and they're happening to all of us. And I think that's part of the shift of maybe this Saturn in Aquarius squaring the nodes, is that taking that responsibility, not just for yourself, but for the collective, and understanding that we are responsible for the collective, and the collective is responsible for us, to the extent that, you know, these higher aspects explain the microcosmic movements within us, and astrology is such a great teacher for that. So forgiving ourselves, forgiving others from our past, forgiving mothers, forgiving our creators. And part of how we do that is just realizing that it's such a beautiful gift just to be alive, just to be in this body. And sometimes we're afraid to come back into the body because there's been trauma, and we don't know how to be in our bodies. And really that's where the healing starts, is learning how to really listen to our bodies and listen to our feelings and be our own parents and find that spirit, God, goddess, source within us, because that's ultimately who we are and what is guiding us if we really listen and tune in. Because otherwise we're just seeking and seeking and seeking and seeking. And what are we seeking for? What are we searching for? We're searching for the capacity to make choices that liberate ourselves and others. That's basically what we're searching for, which actually I heard that approach from Caroline Myss, and I really resonate with that, because forgiveness is a choice. You know, if we're searching for the capacity to make choices that liberate self and others, what greater choice can we make other than forgiving ourselves and others? It's not a choice from our mind, as Caroline Myss says. It's a radical act of the soul. It's a mystical act of the soul, actually. That's what she says. So it's not something that we have to try to make sense out of. It's more of an embodied letting go and an acceptance that, you know, we are here, we are having this experience, and somehow, even though we don't have control, it's gonna be okay. You know, like we don't have to pump our hearts. We don't have to tell our stomach to digest. We don't have to, you know, remind ourselves to breathe. There is an intelligence in the body from where we were created, from how we were created in the earth around us, that is holding us. And so even though we can be very uncertain and very stressed and very anxious and very sad at times, I think that this is really the key, is coming back to that wisdom within the body, within the creation structure itself, and learning to trust that and learning to surrender to that, and really allowing that to guide our lives. And as long as we're traumatized and as long as we're ego identified and we're sticking to those stories that make us feel right or that we're in control, then we're not going to find that opportunity to really calm down and to really come inside and to really get insight on what is happening in my life within myself, what is happening in my life in relationship to others, what is happening in my life related to God and spirit, or just the nature of my existence, because we all have these relationships. These are the primary relationships. And so this other aspect I see is Sun squaring Jupiter. And the Sun is in Cancer and Jupiter is in Aries. So these are very like primal inner child energies. And it's almost like our ego and our identity and our, willpower and is in this Aries element. It's like we just want to be right. We just want what we want and we want it now. And we don't want to be an adult, because the Cancer energy is like, just wants to stay in that child, like, help me, fix me, make it okay. But that's fine when we're kids, because in that sense we are helpless and we don't understand who we are. And many of us in our society now, like, we still don't understand who we are. We forget. But part of being an adult, it's not just the colloquial way that we understand being an adult. It's like being an elder, like rising into that, growing into that realization of, oh wow, okay, I'm not just here to listen to some paternalistic God give me a creed of things to do. Like, oh wow, like God is in me. I'm here to listen to myself and to realize, that's what self-realization is about, is to realize the deeper aspect of myself and to live from that place. And it's not an idea, it's an experience that can be arrived at through practice and through self-inquiry. And so we need to do our homework, we need to get a therapist if that's what we need. We need to be able to be humble in order to learn. Because as long as we think like this Jupiter in Aries and Sun in Cancer, like, no, I know it, I'm right, like, I'm gonna stick to what I see is the story that I like to tell myself. Well, we might be telling ourselves that story for a very long time, and people might get tired of hearing it. And we might get tired of living it, because as long as we're staying attached to the same story, we're going to keep attracting the same story. So there's a really powerful opportunity at this new moon in Cancer to really set new intentions for how we want to experience our inner world by revisiting our relationship to ourselves, to our intimate partners and our close attachments and relationships in our lives, and as well to God, Goddess, Source, the universe. This is the beautiful triangulation of our experience, of our emotional experience, fundamentally. However you want to see that triangle, whatever shape and way that triangle is oriented for you. And one final reflection is that I had a download today on what this whole North Node in Taurus really even means. So we've got Uranus there, we've had a lot of planets passing by that North Node, and now that we know we have to work on this South Node stuff to get there, well, I think that that's really the path, because Taurus, it represents like this abundance and this richness and this really like luxuriating, woo, the nature is responding, our senses, and just like really loving this luscious physical existence. And so sometimes we think of that as like, oh, I want a nice car, I want new clothes, I want to have lots of good food, and like that stuff is all great too, you know, if that's part of your experience, there's no shame in it. Yet I really do feel like this North Node in Taurus is about learning to really be satisfied, you know, from the inside, like not looking for more things in order so that we can be satisfied, because then it's like you never really arrive. So I really see it as like the Garden of Eden is right now, like we're living in it. And as long as we have our basic needs met, it's like just adjusting our expectations so that we can really just be so content and satisfied with the fact that we are even able to provide basic needs for ourselves and others. And that in and of itself is a joyful thing, to just enjoy being alive, enjoy waking up, enjoy the smell of your coffee, enjoy that you can eat breakfast, enjoy that you can laugh with friends, enjoy that you can, you know, massage yourself and take a bath, and all of these just simple pleasures of life. And that when you adjust your expectations to be satisfied with just the basic needs, then everything else that comes to you on top of that is abundance. And so that becomes just this wonderful surprise that is just lights you up. So it's really that expectation piece, because if we're not expecting more, then we can really appreciate more. But if we're expecting more, then we're constantly just raising that bar just beyond reach, and we never actually get to experience the tasty, yummy, juicy, beautiful sensuousness of Taurus. So I hope that you will go in and receive your own embodied wisdom at this time. It's a great mantra to take, that what we sow is what we reap at this time. So take good care, get lots of good sleep and nutritious food, drink lots of water, take care of you. Aloha. Until next time, namaste.